Okay, we're live on everything.
Hello.
Okay. So this week's been just fucking weird. Everything's been weird. Everybody's been weird. Your
It
eyebrows
is a weird
are up.
week, but I always feel like the week between Christmas and New Year's is like a wash week.
It's
Like,
so weird.
who
It's just
fucking
like
cares?
nobody's out. People don't
I
care.
know.
People are jerks or pissed off or I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
Um,
it's weird.
Definitely felt the weird. So much shit. So much shit. And like I think it's because like people are getting together with their families, so they're all pissed off. I don't know. Trauma.
I don't either. I have a really weird work week because, I mean, everybody got in before the holidays. So
Hmm.
then nobody wants to come. And I'm like, okay, cool. I will
Yeah,
catch up on other stuff, or I've got a million other things I can always do, but it's weird. It's a weird work week for me for sure.
it's a weird work week. Um, so we should briefly just recap, and I still don't know sound wise what happened with the end of the interview. I need to look it up. I just haven't had to like literally focus. I'm so ADHD right now. Like I cannot focus on one thing. And
Yeah.
I need to look it up and see if I spliced off some of the audio for to finish that accidentally. I don't know what happened, so I need to look at it again. And I know I have the files. I'm just like,
Yeah, so if you listen to our last podcast, the last minute was it ended very abruptly. I listened to it and I was like, wait a minute, we're missing like a little bit. Anyway, Kathy was telling us about her, plans, and it just kind of cut off at the very end. But it was really fun to talk to her and to do that interview. And it's so interesting to talk to someone who's been in the same situations as you.
yeah,
Hers were very different, but still similar. Um,
certainly nuances between the groups and stuff. I don't
yeah.
because we were such an outlier in the outlier thing. Like I just got stuck with blood test draw.
Okay.
Um, we were the outliers of the outliers. So I do think we were a little bit removed from the whole like movement and Jack Hyles and like we had moments where we were a part of it, but it's almost like it was it wasn't as though I think it was that they sought him out. He didn't think that like Dean Miller at Cornerstone. I think a lot of the other guys like sought out Jack Hyles to like
Yeah.
go like train. And it was the opposite, I think, in our case. Like we just got big enough and made enough splash that it was the other way around. So then people started reaching out to Dean Miller.
Yeah.
Then the opposite, where most of the other big guys, like the big churches, like the one here in Southern California, Northern California, Florida, Berean and Trinity and all those, like they went there and they were already a part of it. And then it was like we got pulled into it, but I don't think it was willingly, if that makes any sense. I think they
Yeah,
were,
I think he also thought we were too good for Hiles even.
mhm,
Like we were better than Hiles.
yeah, because there's
Yeah.
always that element of you're not good
We
at.
were more strict than Hiles. He let a lot of things go that we didn't.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was different because even when you went to college there, you noticed some of the standards were a little bit more
Oh, for sure.
lax than what we were raised in.
There was kids that grew up with television, girls
Right.
that got to wear pants, um, kids that got to date in high school.
Right.
And it was chaperoned and stuff, but it wasn't completely off limits until after you were out of high school. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, there were even like less time spent at church, or they went
Sure.
to public school. Some of the kids went to public schools. They didn't
Right.
Bible church school. And so
Right.
very mixed cross swath of all of people.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think whenever we were in high school is when we were more aware of Jack Hiles more than anywhere because we would go to the youth
well,
conferences.
that's partly due to Michelle Miller and Berean.
No, because we went way before she was ever a part of that.
But then it became bigger
It
deal.
became bigger, sure. but
Uh,
we went to pastor school and we would do all of those things. Um, because she didn't come into the picture until I was out of high school.
okay. Um,
Yeah.
I think I only went to like one pastor school, maybe two youth conferences. Um,
Okay. So
so
it was big
we
with
did a lot.
Matt.
Yeah.
He was the youth pastor at the time when I seventh grade. I went seventh grade, eighth grade, pretty much most of my high school years. We went to, the youth conference, which was, thousands of teenagers in one place
Right.
getting saved again and, you know,
Yeah.
called to be a pastor's wife.
It would be like a a pedophile shopping spree, a
Yeah.
pedophile window shop.
Yes. Yes. The ultimate opportunities
Anyway,
for all the sickos.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Liz.
We had a couple things to talk about today, and we're gonna keep it brief today. Um, I'm getting on a flight in a bit. And I was like, I'm so stressed out. I don't even want to do this. But I was like, no, actually, it's probably good because, this is our therapy. So the more you don't want to do it, you should probably do it. Uh,
Yeah.
but we were going to talk a little bit about holidays. Like, and I think we already did. Like, it just kind of like there's a blues thing that happens because it's all hyped up and then it happens.
Yeah.
Like,
And then there's like a letdown.
it's
Like
like,
it's over. What now?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's graduating. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, so anticlimactic. What do I fucking do now? There's this whole ceremony and
Yes.
it's a ceremony, and then you're like, okay, what do we do now? Everybody's looking around awkwardly.
Yeah.
That's like holiday wise. Um, but we were gonna discuss mental health, but the funny thing is like I would say my therapist and then like psychiatrist and then like medical professionals are all just like slammed. Anyone in the mental health is like completely slammed right now.
I believe that.
Like my therapist was like, I can't book you out. Like I can book you out in like a month. He's like, literally, I am full,
Yeah.
pretty much the whole month of December through the mid-January time
Hmm.
because everybody flips out right now. And I don't know if it's again, I'm like, is it family or is it just we're
I
sick?
mean, I flipped out a little bit last week. I was like in this funk of depression. And I'm not prone to depression, but I have moments of depression. I understand depression because I've lived with people in my life who have depression. And so I understand what it is. So I think I have like bouts of depression. But last week was tough for me. I don't know why. And I think, the holidays maybe. Um, I feel like my kids, roommate one, two, and three, are all fighting right now. And so that really kills me. Like it literally does. Um, and I wish, and I go, well, can you just get along for one day for me? But they say for their mental health, they need to not be around a different family member, whatever, their sister. So that literally destroys me because they can't imagine like not having a good relationship with my sister. I mean, like I said, we've had moments, obviously, we're
Well,
not perfect,
I think
but it's
you're
hard.
I think Randy was right, like what he talked about with that issue,
Mhm.
about like, well, they don't need each other. Like,
Yeah, so yeah, what he said was so because they have fought since they were young,
right. Well,
always had, and we fought when we were young.
oh yeah.
I think once we got into high school age, we were more of each other's allies
Hmm.
instead of like each other's enemy. And mine seemed to be the enemy. They like hold grudges and they hold things that people say extremely personal and take it to heart and then, cut people off completely with each other and everything. And so it's really hard. But Randy said, I think the reason that our kids, that you and your sister have such a better relationship than like our kids do. And I hope that they grow out of it and I hope that they get past their issues and they're able to get along because having a sister is like such an amazing blessing. But is because you guys needed each other to survive. Our
Yeah,
kids never needed each other to survive, I don't think. We provided everything they needed. We Rachel and I dug through trash cans together to get food.
dumpster diving.
I mean, we literally like you know,
So you're talking
so
about,
many things.
right. So we had an element of survival, and
Yeah.
they're prioritizing scarcity. So we had to band together if we were going to actually like survive, like to make
Yeah.
money and buy
Right.
food and like basic human rights. Um,
Yeah.
they're prioritizing the scarcity of their relationships with their sisters. Um, my partner's brother got killed in a car accident suddenly 6 years ago.
uh,
Okay. Now that prioritization of scarcity would come right smack dab in the face, you know,
yeah.
were that to happen to a sibling, period.
Right.
You know? And so like I go to those are the extremes, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
survival, prioritizing, oh, I don't want this person in my life. Like that's you're making it a point to prioritize them being in your life. So that's scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but yeah, well, what happens when they're gone? Then
Right.
you can no longer do that and you realize how silly it is, even if for, the compromises that we have made with some of our family members to stay in at least a somewhat, amicable, you know, relationship of some kind, right?
Yeah. I
Because,
mean, and there's always compromises, I feel like. So
right,
you just have to be, it can't all come from one person. There's always that. There
well,
has to be a little bit, but sometimes the other person's not going to compromise at all. And you have to say, okay, so I either like don't have a relationship or I compromise a little bit and, be civil. I mean, there's so many people that I mean, technically cut off out of my life. I have cut people out of my life. But if they were at a family function, I
right,
would still be civil. But I think that's maybe age and growth and,
yeah.
things like that.
Well,
Um,
life is short. I mean, honestly,
it is. We've
um,
discussed that before though. It's just like it's hard. It's hard as a mother to see your children
I can't imagine.
like so at odds with each other. It's very hard. And I don't and so anyway, I was struggling last week with that because we've spent most of our holidays together. There's been a couple where like I think once when roommate one was at college her first semester, like she wasn't here for Thanksgiving. And then there's been I think one Christmas she wasn't here because she was living in a different state. So there's been a few times we haven't been together, but it wasn't because I don't want to be around that person.
Right.
And so that this was like the first time when it was like, well, I don't want to be over there if they're there and blah blah blah. And so that was really it really weighed on me a lot. And just also, you have clients. I have amazing clients. I also have some that like,
Not so amazing.
yeah, I just feel like they uh and I don't they're all loyal. I can't say they're not loyal. They are. But sometimes I just don't feel I just wasn't feeling appreciated, I guess.
Yeah.
Um
Well, we've
and
talked about
not
this too. Like you have this, and I think I understand it a little bit. I mean, it's your feelings, it's your feels, it's not mine.
yeah.
But you have this really strong desire to be needed. And
Oh, for sure.
I think it's partly like being the oldest and
Mhm.
having people rely on you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? To like make
Yeah.
decisions and you're counted on for stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
and then also having three girls, who for most of the last 25, 6 years, they
Yes.
needed you. And
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely think that that's an issue. I think it used to come across as like people pleasing because I was
right,
like I wanted to feel needed. So I would do whatever anybody wants. And I've grown out of that, but I do feel more fulfilled when somebody needs me and I can fix their problem.
Yes.
It's more of a fixer than needed, maybe. But I definitely always want to fix the problem. I do appreciate being needed. So yeah, that's definitely true. I think I have grown out of the people pleasing phase because that is something that I used to live by, and I wanted everybody to be happy, and I
Well,
would do whatever. I bent over backwards for multiple people throughout my life, and they would not, I mean, they wouldn't, throw water on me if I was on fire,
yeah. Well,
and you learn that the hard way.
that's a, I mean, it's progress, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
the difference is that the actions are different.
Mm-hmm.
People pleasing, you're doing things, even if
Yeah.
you agree with who you are. And now you're kind of like, well, I still want, to make sure everyone's happy, but I also have a limit to what I'm going to do about it or what
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have similar tendencies for sure. Um,
Well, you've had some
I
stuff
have,
going on too, though.
yeah, and I have a lot more, I don't give a fuck about me than you
Yeah.
do. Um, and I think that that's partly also due to circumstances. And um, at some point, I'm like, nope, I can't do that. So I'm not going
Right.
to. And
Right.
also,
Right.
I don't really care. um, that's difference of personality too, and
Yes.
but we have similar character traits in that if we can, we will. Both of us do things,
Yes.
for people. And
Right.
I think I have it strong too. I just don't think it's as much as you. Yeah, I had a massive panic attack on Sunday
Last
night
week. Yeah.
of last week that I haven't had one in probably, I don't know, I was trying to think, it's probably been like 6 or 7 years. I think it might be a little bit longer than that. Um
Okay.
and the yeah, it just caught me off guard. I haven't had one in so long, and I used to get them much more often. And this was, when you have um when you have abuse, when you're in abusive situations as a kid, it kind of sticks with you. And in my case, it's like complex PTSD. So it presents itself and rears its ugly head every once in a while. Um, I used to be a lot more adept at handling them because they happen more frequently. So it's kind of like, if you go out and ride a bike, you get used to it and you get really good at it, and you understand the rules of the road, and what intersections to look for. And then you wait 10 years and then
Yeah.
you go hop on the bike. You can't expect that you're going to know how to ride the bike, but you're not going to remember to be careful at this intersection. And then
Yeah.
the roads have probably changed a little bit, and so
Yeah.
the different potholes in different places. So it's the same, using that analogy. I had the tools, I know how to deal with them, but it was rusty, right? So
Yeah.
I did. One of the really cool things about it is that because I've had a lot of therapy, I do have a toolbox of stuff that, so this is the first time that it's happened with a long-term romantic partner, with them at like being in the same space and having it happen in real time with them. So
Mm-hmm.
often it's never been with a partner, or they've been gone, or
Yeah.
it's a different situation, but this was real time happening with a long-term serious partner. And one of the really cool things is that I was able to, even though I'm having this, and I can't describe it other than feeling like your life is in danger,
Mm-hmm.
and that there are, forces around you that you have no control over, and you feel
Yeah.
as you're going to die.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. But there's no real place it's coming from or people that are chasing you. It's just that sensation.
Yes.
And but in real time, I was able to at least let my partner know this is what's happening right now, and I'm going to need a minute, and here's what's going on, and here's what I think, and this is what's happening right now, like play by play, which was really hard to do. But I also knew that he was losing it too, and that I needed to make sure that he knew that this was just an incident and it was singular, and that, it really, him being around had nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah.
Was me having, experiencing this thing, and that there was no correlation or causation really that could have, he was in no wrong here, and that I was trying to talk him through,
He didn't trigger this for
yeah,
you.
seeing someone going through this and not really dealing with it. I mean, the other really interesting part is that he works with special ed kids. And he's seen a lot of shit. You know what I mean? He's had mild, severe, and moderate kids, that are all over the spectrum in terms of their disability or their issues. And I mean, right. So it wasn't as though this wasn't as, like, it wasn't as though he's been sitting under a log and he doesn't understand that there's
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
But also it was, I think, helpful for him to have me vocalizing what was going on at the time. And then, we can talk about it because it is mental health awareness, or I'm sorry, mental health care restriction month, because nobody's around, because everybody needs mental health care right now. But it is worth mentioning that these are the consequences of what a independent fundamental Baptist church and that environment bring. These are the direct result of this type of thing. And they don't just last in the moment. The moment is acute, right? It's acute. It happens. It's boom. It's there. And then you have to sit there and sort through the rest of it. Like a giant dump truck of laundry just got dumped on there, and you have to fucking sort through the whites and the coloreds and the wools and the right. So you have to sit with that dump truck of shit that just got poured on top of your head.
Yep.
For however long it takes to sort through it. And that I've had times in my life where they've lasted up to a year. And what I mean by lasted is that the results or the effects of it last that long. I discussed this at length because it sucks, because I like food and I like wine and I like good food and good wine, right? And there's just residuals are like, you're always on edge. I'm hyper alert constantly all the time now. There's this constant sense of dread that just goes through you when you go outside. Even in the house, sometimes I feel it, where I'm just freaking out about nothing at all. And then there's like body temperature dysregulation. So you get really, really hot all of a sudden. Explain why. And it's not a hot flash hot. I know these are worse. Or you just get freezing cold all of a sudden. So there's body temperature dysregulation. There's I have a constant, I'm not nauseous, but it feels like I'm about to be nauseous all the time. So it's like the lightest version of morning sickness, but 24 hours a day. Dry mouth, itchy, watery eyes, very, very hyper sensitive, like emotionally, physically, like my body hurts, it aches all over. The first 2 days afterward, I just felt as though I had been hit by a dump truck. So physical pain, like in your bones, in your organs, like not headaches, because I don't think I've really ever had a headache, but these weird splurges of electricity that go up the back of your head and then sometimes just whack you right in the forehead like you've been slain with the spirit. So there's all these weird like physical things that happen that you have to go, oh, I know why that's happening right now, because my body is traumatized and my brain was traumatized, and it's just residual effects of it's literal aftershocks. But and again, you can't predict when these will happen. I might never have another one again.
Right.
I might have another one, next week. I might not have another one for another 10 years. I don't know. Right. It's unpredictable. You don't never know when it's going to happen. And it's kind of like living with someone who's got a grenade and they're about to pull the pin out of it.
Ugh. I live in a fear of having one because I've had a few. And the feeling and the residuals that you described are so accurate. Like just ridiculous. But I constantly have that in my brain. It's been a couple years since I've had one. But the fear of having one is real.
Yeah,
And after you have one, it lessens as the time goes,
it does. That's what I said.
Yeah,
I've had
but
so many
it
of
is
them.
a legit fear because it's so hard to describe it. You did a pretty good job of
I think
describing
so.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've had enough of them. I should be able to describe it at this point in my
Yeah.
um
Yep. It's hard
and
to describe to someone who's never had one.
I think I did a good job though.
I think you did. I think you did a great job. Um, just like feeling that you're gonna die for absolutely no reason.
Yes. Like
It's like one of the best.
there's not a mastodon chasing you, but it feels like there sure is a fucking herd of them, right?
Something is coming for you. You have
Yes.
no idea what.
Yeah, and the odd part about that is if you can self-realize within that moment, it's like, no, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
Right? This is coming from me, not from
Uh-huh.
outside sources, right? It's like it's so internalized because that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You're not, your life is not in danger, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I think yeah, we discussed this a little bit, but yeah, I'm cracking up when we're talking about this, thinking about Kathy's comment last week about you're not allowed to have mental health. Like that's just not like no. When you checked in here, that is not a box. You cannot check that box. You don't.
Right.
So we're gonna give you a bunch of household chores, and you're gonna be so overwhelmed with so much work that you can't have mental health.
Yes. Oh my
Um,
God. I related to that so much.
yes, it's so true.
That
It's
was so true. Oh my God. Ugh.
and yeah, we've had plenty of mental health stuff in our family, but again, I think the
Yeah.
first whatever, 18 years of my life, we didn't discuss it. It was,
No.
oh,
Well,
they're
and we saw
sad.
mom. Mom
They need
lived
to
with
pray more.
depression.
She
And
definitely had depression.
she had so much. And of course, it was undiagnosed or untreated because the church was the answer.
Oh yeah.
Um, but as kids, we didn't know what depression looked like.
Yeah.
But looking back,
Oh yeah.
we're like, oh, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah. Bring
Yeah.
it. Winner, winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, in years since she's gotten, professional help.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, working on it, it's something you don't really get cured of. But you can certainly,
Continuously work on it.
yeah, well, and it's, sometimes you have to just calm the symptoms, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can start to work on it, and sometimes you just ignore it because you're too busy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it slaps you in the face and you go, oh yeah. I mean, the odd thing about this one for me too is that I'm currently in therapy. Like, and I kind of knew I
Yeah.
needed to be, and I'm not sure exactly why, but this year's been rough.
Mm-hmm.
This year's been a lot of triggers. I've handled it relatively well, but again, I do appreciate the fact that I have someone I can talk to about it. And I knew that this year was hard, and that's why I started resuming therapy. And again, we have an as needed basis for me, right? Because I do have all these complex and varying issues. But you kind of do know when you're at the point of, can I handle this?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm asking myself that, then that's the time that I know, okay, you might start to make some time for yourself and get in, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to lose it, on a client or your kid or your sister, or someone nearby, which
Yes.
doesn't support anyone. It doesn't help,
Uh-huh.
you need to take care of you so you can take care of everyone around you. Uh,
Right.
which is one reason why I'm curious why you haven't, because I'm like, if you want to take care of everyone, you got to take care of you first. It's like put your own oxygen mask on first.
Oh, I know.
Um, but that's one of the best things that you did, um, in terms of roommate two, is that as soon as you identified the issue, you got help, like immediately.
Well, of course.
Part of my long-term mental health precariousness
Uh-huh.
is because I didn't get help until, you know, 8 years
Yeah,
after the fact.
sure.
And that is medically documented and shown to be very, very true, that the sooner you can get in, with these things, the better, right?
Well, let's talk
He just
about
turned
the
this.
insane cost of getting mental health
Mm-hmm.
and the difficulty
Yes.
in getting mental health
Oh,
because that is for fucking real.
and not just that. So there's cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's challenge with finding the correct therapist for you. And
Oh, yeah.
someone who is not in their best mental state is
Or what?
not in their best mental state capacity,
Sure.
is not in a position to be hunting and pecking and looking for someone who fits them correctly, or having to jump hurdles and loops,
Yeah.
insurance systems, and in network, out of network, and
Oh,
cost
yeah.
to be, it's set up for failure, which is a
100%. Um, it's so bad. My roommate one has struggled in her adult life a lot um with things that have happened um to her from people who love her and unknown people as well, but she struggles with a lot of things and she is prone to depression big time.
yeah.
um and so I don't know, 6 months ago or so, probably longer than that, she had a breakdown where she needed some help. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
bad. And so, me being the fixer, I'm like, well, let me get you some help. So, I mean, I got on the phone. Of course, there's no facilities in Oklahoma or
Oh,
anywhere close
I
to here.
was on the phone for hours with this
Yeah, that's just
same
for
thing
women,
too. Yep.
right? There's no only women facilities. She's a young girl who doesn't want to be in a co-ed situation with a bunch of men who are also having mental health issues. So I'm like, well, let's figure this out. So I got a hold of this one place and they said, oh my gosh, yes, bring her here, blah, blah, blah. Worst decision ever, probably, because she has trauma from her mental health experience, where she was trying to get help. Not one bit of help. She was there for, I'm going to say, 6 days, and talked to one psychologist for about 10 minutes, who all he did was prescribe her a shit ton of drugs she didn't even know why she was taking. They made her think that she was crazy. She got personally attacked by a fellow person in the mental facility. Um, it was the world's biggest nightmare. I'm not kidding. It was absolutely freaking awful. Um, and we couldn't even get her out because I did find a place where my roommate too went to a place in California that was incredible. I cannot say enough good things about them.
Also
They
extremely expensive.
also extremely expensive. Thank God for insurance because there was no way in hell we would have ever afforded it otherwise. I mean, it was several $1,000s, up front, and then a little bit more as we went on. But I mean, our insurance was built, I think, like $6,000 to $15,000 a day. Like that's how much it costs for good mental health, unfortunately. But I did find a place where she could go And the place in Oklahoma would not allow her to get on a plane and go get help from somewhere else where they were just holding her,
Yeah.
where people were standing over her, breathing in her face, like all of the horrors that she experienced there. It was freaking awful. I'm sure I don't know everything, but the things she's told me, absolutely awful. And she learned to play the game to get out of there, basically.
Well,
Um,
and what does that teach you? I mean, it teaches you not to seek mental health
it absolutely
care.
does. That's exactly what it does. It teaches you that you can't trust people, you can't trust doctors, you can't trust, all these things. And she deals with that, and she says that she can't trust doctors. She doesn't want to do therapy. All of these things because of such a bad experience. But I don't know of another state that's this bad, but Oklahoma is rough.
I think most states are that bad, or at least
Yeah.
I think that's true. There's only a couple that have like really worked on it, and
Mm-hmm.
those are few and far between, and it costs money, and people aren't willing to pay money because, well, in a lot of places, mental health is not considered health.
No, it's not considered health. On our insurance, it's not covered at all. Like mental health does not count. That does not has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
Um, if you're admitted
Yes.
into a place, that's the only way it can be considered. It can be considered covered by insurance. So I mean, in before we had insurance before, because my other girls, I mean, all of my kids have been in therapy at one point or another,
Yeah.
briefly. Um, but one of them more intense, obviously. But when we
And
did have insurance that did cover partial mental health, it was still out of pocket $180 a visit.
yeah, which is just ridiculous.
It's insane. Who can afford that? That's like a mortgage payment a month
Well,
to go once a week.
it favors the wealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Which this entire country favors the wealthy. Who are we kidding here? Like,
Well,
let's just
yeah,
get real.
but people keep voting in these assholes that just make it easier for people to get wealthier. And it's
Yeah,
like you're voting against your own interests. What the fuck?
yeah. It's really sad, but this is where we're at
I know.
in this.
Well, I we just turned this into an advertisement for what are the ones out there like talk space whatever, I don't know. We should be
Oh,
getting calls shortly from them.
I mean, even the like Better Health. So we've been on that one, like the websites. I probably shouldn't say that name, but some of the advertisements like do virtual, health. It's free. It's not free.
I know.
None of it's free. No. If
I
you
mean, if you have
have,
insurance.
yes, if you have state funded insurance, it might cover, most of it. But then you're waiting on a list of like
Yeah.
5
And
million people, and you're
by the
lucky if you
time,
find someone,
right, and by the time you find someone, your issue may have passed.
or you're
The other
dead.
thing is, then you're not matched up with a therapist that actually works for you, and that
Right.
is absolutely determinant on what their training is. I had a point in my life where I wouldn't see anyone who was didn't have a PhD, because I
Yeah.
was like, you don't understand, and this was before any of the hype came out with like Let Us Pray, in the movement. Um, but I couldn't no therapist really understood me. And to this
No.
day, to
Yeah.
this day, I have yet to find a therapist who actually gets it and understands the
Right.
environment and what I grew up in.
Yeah.
So I have had to start to play the game a little bit. So
Yeah.
then I come into a new therapy setup or with a new therapist, and I have to talk in their terms to explain to them what I have, what I've been
Right.
diagnosed with, and then I give them like the elevator pitch because it's annoying as hell to have to relive your trauma with every new therapist you go to because
Yeah.
that's what happens. And then people get like, hang on, I might have to end this quick.
We're hanging here.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we might have to say goodbye here in a second. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, because I gotta go get on the flight here. But point being is it's it's expensive, but it's worth it if you can get therapy. It is worth it. It's
Oh, I definitely don't think there's many people who have said I regret getting therapy.
yeah. And
I mean, I'm gonna say my roommate one will say that, but she really didn't get therapy. She got held in a holding
facility.
place. Yes, she got held in a facility. She was not given any help
Yeah.
um, by an actual therapist at all.
Right. And that's 90%
So
of the time what happens with people. So they just give
yeah,
up and then
yeah. I mean, because it's hard, and it shouldn't be that hard. If you're struggling with your mental health, it should be more accessible.
absolutely.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not the case. But
I know.
um,
Well,
I don't know what to do about it. It's
I
the
there
system
there
we've
there
been
are no
stuck with.
solutions here. It's not
Yeah,
our job. Um,
it's not. But if you can find help, you need to.
absolutely.
Yeah, and especially during the holidays when
Yeah.
everything's just so heightened, and
You have to
it's
you have to pregame
a
it.
big, yes, it's a big excitement and then letdown, and then you're with all these people. There's overstimulation and then none.
Yes.
Up and down.
Extremes are us.
Yes,
Yep,
yes, yes.
absolutely. All right.
All right. Well,
Well,
I feel like that was a very depressing episode, but
I mean, it's kind of apropos. um, how's that new grandbaby?
my grandbaby's amazing.
Good.
She is.
There's
Oh,
your silver lining, sister.
I know. There is. She is so amazing. I literally held her for hours this weekend during Christmas time.
Good.
My God, there's nothing like holding a baby.
Oh,
Talk about
no,
therapy.
no, absolutely. Absolutely not.
For me. Oh, it just makes you happy and have all the feels. I love it.
Nope, nope, definitely. Nope, nope.
Okay. Well, we
All right.
definitely not
I'm
out
glad
time,
you're
but it's
enjoying
pretty
her.
amazing. I do. I do. I love her
All right.
a lot. Yep.
Okay. Well, take care of you. I love you. And we'll
Love
chat.
you. Have a fantastic trip.
Thanks.